Alan Gordon stood at the viewing window of the Galactic Council space station. The vast emptiness of space stretched before him, sprinkled with distant stars and passing ships. He straightened his navy blue diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. After 5 years as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, he had learned to hide his frustration behind a polite smile. Today, that smile felt heavier than usual. "Ambassador Gordon, the council session begins in 10 minutes, said his assistant, Beth Mason, a young woman with short blonde hair and sharp eyes. She handed him a data tablet. Alan nodded. "Thank you, Beth. Any last-minute changes to their agenda?" "No, sir. Same as yesterday. The Virixians have the floor first, then trade. Discussions." Alan's jaw tightened. The Virixians, crystalline beings who claimed to be among the oldest species in the galaxy, had been increasingly hostile toward humans in recent months. It wasn't just their natural sparkle that made them think they were better than everyone else. "Let's get this over with," Alan said, turning away from the window. They walked through the gleaming corridors of the station. Aliens of various shapes and sizes moved around them. Some nodded respectfully. Others pretended not to see the humans. Alan had gotten used to both reactions. The council chamber was a massive circular room with rising tiers of seats. Each of the 83 member species had their own section. Humans, as one of the newest members, sat near the bottom. Alan took his place, and Beth sat behind him with their communication equipment. The council leader, a tall, blue-skinned Janari named Kelsor, called the meeting to order. His forearms moved in the traditional greeting pattern. "The council recognizes High Elder Zrix of the Virixian Collective," Kelsor announced. A Virixian floated to the center platform. Virixians looked like floating collections of crystal shards arranged in a vaguely humanoid shape. Zrix's crystals were purple and silver, marking his high status. "Esteemed council members," Zrix began, his voice translated through the chamber's systems. "The Virixian Collective wishes to address growing concerns about human technological development." Alan sat up straighter. This wasn't on the official agenda. Earth vessels have been observed using modified faster-than-light drives that exceed standard safety protocols, Zrix continued. Additionally, their new quantum communication system operates outside our established networks. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The collective proposes immediate restrictions on human expansion and technology sharing until a full investigation can be completed. Alan pressed the button requesting to speak. The council leader nodded to him. "The council recognizes Ambassador Gordon of Earth." Alan stood and approached the center platform. "Thank you, council leader. Earth respectfully reminds the council that our technologies have passed all required safety inspections. Our quantum communication system was developed independently, after repeated delays in being granted access to council networks." Zrix's crystals flashed with color, a sign of agitation. The human speaks of independence as if it were a virtue rather than a threat. Their species has advanced too quickly. They must be contained for the safety of all. Several council members nodded in agreement. Alan felt a familiar anger rising but kept his voice calm. Earth has complied with every regulation since joining the council 12 years ago. We have shared medical advancements that now benefit 17 member species. We have contributed to galactic peace. These accusations are unfounded. The debate continued for hours. Alan defended humanity's interests, but it was clear that many species had already made up their minds. When the session finally ended, the council voted to form a committee to evaluate human technological compliance, effectively delaying Earth's newest trade agreements. As Alan and Beth left the chamber, a small green alien approached them. It was Jinx, an aide to the Peloran delegation. The Pelorans were one of the few species that regularly supported humans in council matters. "Ambassador Gordon," Jinx whispered, looking around nervously. "My superior wishes me to share something with you, in private." "My office is secure," Alan replied. Once inside his office, Jinx's behavior grew even more anxious. "What I tell you comes at great risk. The Virixians have been working against Earth for years. They have secretly redirected potential trade partners away from human space. That's a serious accusation, Alan said. Do you have proof? Jinx handed him a small data crystal. Communications records. My superior believes you should know the truth. After Jinx left, Alan and Beth examined the files. They showed hundreds of instances where the Vorixians had interfered with Earth's diplomatic efforts. This goes back decades, Beth said, shocked. Even before we joined the council. Alan's face darkened. Contact Dr. Wright immediately. Secure channel only. Hours later, Alan sat alone in his office, waiting for the encrypted connection. His screen flashed and Dr. Lisa Wright's face appeared. As head of Earth's Interstellar Relations Committee, she was one of the few people he could trust with this information. Alan, it's the middle of the night here. What's happened? Lisa asked, her gray eyes alert despite the hour. We've been played, Lisa, all these years. He transferred the files to her. The Vorixians have been sabotaging us from the beginning. Lisa scanned the data, her expression growing more serious with each passing moment. This confirms our suspicions. We've received similar intelligence from our own sources. There's more, Alan said. Today they proposed restrictions on our expansion and technology. They're moving against us openly now. Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, It might be time for Contingency Delta. Alan felt a chill run through him. Contingency Delta was a classified protocol, developed years ago but never implemented. It was the nuclear option of diplomacy. Are you sure? Once we start down that path? Come home, Alan, Lisa said firmly. The president needs to hear this, directly from you. I'll arrange a transport that bypasses the usual channels. What about the council sessions? If I suddenly leave, tell them you're coming back for routine consultation. Beth can handle things during your absence. Lisa's expression softened slightly. We always knew this might happen, Alan. That's why we prepared. After ending the call, Alan stared out at the stars. Humanity had reached for the stars with hope and goodwill, only to find politics and prejudice weren't unique to Earth. If Lisa was right, everything was about to change. He called Beth into his office. I need to return to Earth immediately. Urgent consultation, Beth nodded, understanding without being told that something significant had happened. I'll make the arrangements, sir. As Alan packed a small bag, he thought about the council meeting scheduled for tomorrow. It might be one of the last ones he would attend. The Vorixians and their allies thought they were cleverly containing humanity. They had no idea what they were about to unleash. Alan Gordon's transport ship approached Earth after 3 days of travel. He had avoided the main council transit systems, taking a longer route that wouldn't be easily tracked. As the blue-green planet came into view, he felt a mix of relief and anxiety. His pilot, a steady man named Kevin Wright, turned to him. We'll be landing at the secure facility in 30 minutes, Ambassador. Alan nodded. Thank you, Kevin. Any messages while we were in the quiet zone? Just one from Dr. Wright. The meeting is set for 1 hour after our arrival. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere and landed at a hidden government facility in the Rocky Mountains. A small group waited for Alan as he stepped onto his home planet for the first time in 8 months. Lisa Wright stood at the front, her silver-streaked dark hair pulled back tightly. She embraced Alan briefly. Welcome home. I wish it were under better circumstances. So do I, Alan said. How much have you told them? Only that we have confirmed evidence of council interference. The details are for you to present. They drove, in silence, to an underground conference room. President Hank Mitchell sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by his top advisors. His weathered face looked even more lined than when Alan had last seen him. Ambassador Gordon, the president, said, standing to shake Alan's hand. I understand you have something important to share. Alan connected his secure data device to the room's display system. Mr. President, what I'm about to show you confirms what we've suspected for years. The Galactic Council, specifically the Vorixians, have been actively working against human interests since before we joined. For the next 30 minutes, Alan presented the evidence. Messages between council species discussing how to limit human expansion. Records of diverted trade, agreements, secret meetings where Earth's technological growth was labeled as concerning and in need of control. When he finished, the room was silent. Then General Olivia Peterson, the head of Earth's defense forces, spoke up. This explains a lot. Every time we've tried to establish new colonies or trade routes, we've hit unexpected obstacles. The president leaned forward. Dr. Wright, your assessment? Lisa stood. The evidence is clear. The council, or at least powerful factions within it, see humanity as a threat. They've been working to contain us, limit our growth, and keep us dependent on their systems. Options? The president asked. Lisa looked at Alan, then back to the president. I believe it's time to implement Contingency Protocol Delta. General Peterson sat up straighter. Are you certain? Once initiated, there's no going back. What exactly is Contingency Delta? Asked Maria Lopez, the economic advisor. I've heard rumors, but nothing specific. Lisa nodded to General Peterson, who pressed a button on her tablet. The room's displays changed to show a complex series of plans and diagrams. Contingency Protocol Delta was developed 15 years ago, the general explained. Shortly after we joined the council, a small group of officials began to worry about our increasing dependence on galactic systems. They created a backup plan, AIA, way for humanity to withdraw from the council completely if necessary. She brought up a map of human settlements across council space. We have 27 major colonies and outposts. Delta involves quietly evacuating these locations, rerouting our supply chains, and establishing a completely independent communication network. The economic impact would be substantial, Maria warned. Initially, yes, Lisa agreed. But we've been preparing. Our largest corporations have been developing alternative technologies and resources. We've established hidden stockpiles. We can survive without council trade. The president looked troubled. And the political consequences? Alan spoke up. They'll try to stop us. The council depends on human innovation and resources more than they admit. When we leave, it will create chaos. Which is why timing is crucial, General Peterson said. If we do this, we need to move quickly and in complete coordination. The meeting continued for hours as they discussed the details. Questions of resources, security, and communication flew around the table. By evening, a tentative plan had formed. We'll need 3 months, Lisa said, to quietly prepare our colonies and get our people in position. What about our people still on council worlds? Asked the president. We've maintained separate evacuation plans for each location, General Peterson replied. We can extract them within days once the order is given. And I need to return to the council, Alan added. If I stay away too long, they'll suspect something. Plus, I need to keep an eye on their reactions as we begin moving pieces. The president stood up, looking at each person in the room. I want to be absolutely clear. This is potentially the most significant decision in human history since we first left Earth's atmosphere. We are talking about cutting ourselves off from the galactic community. With respect, sir, Alan said, they never truly let us join that community. They've been treating us as second-class citizens while exploiting our innovations. After another moment of silent consideration, the president nodded. Begin preparations for Delta. I want daily reports. If at any point the council catches wind of what we're doing, we accelerate the timeline. Are we clear? Everyone nodded. Ambassador Gordon, you'll return to the council in 2 days. Dr. Wright will be your primary contact. General Peterson will coordinate the military aspects. Let's move. As the meeting ended, Alan pulled Lisa aside. What about Charlie? Charlie Banks was Alan's aide at the council, who had stayed behind to maintain their presence there. He's been briefed on the basics, Lisa said quietly. Not everything, but enough to know his role. He'll continue gathering intelligence and helping with the extraction when the time comes. Alan looked out a small window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Varixians and their allies thought they were cleverly containing humanity's potential. 3 months, he said. Then we show them exactly what happens when you back humans into a corner. Lisa's expression was grim but determined. 3 months, then we walk away and let them deal with the consequences. 3 months passed quickly. Alan Gordon stood before the mirror in his quarters on the council station, adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform. Today was the day. After weeks of careful planning and secret movements, humanity would announce its decision to the Galactic Council. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," Alan called. Charlie Banks entered, looking nervous but determined. The young man had proven invaluable these past months, helping coordinate secret messages and keeping track of council activities. "Everything is ready, sir," Charlie said. "The entire delegation has arrived safely. Captain Foster reports the Defender is in position, cloaking systems functioning perfectly." Alan nodded. The USS Defender was humanity's newest and most advanced ship. The Council knew nothing about its true capabilities. "And our people on the station? All non-essential personnel have already been quietly transferred to our ships. Only the diplomatic team remains." "Good work, Charlie." Alan checked the time. 1 hour until the session begins. "Has there been any indication they suspect what's coming?" Charlie shook his head. "None, sir. The Varixians are still planning to present their proposal to restrict human expansion in the Orion sector." Alan smiled grimly. "They're in for a surprise." Meanwhile, on the hidden deck of the council station, the rest of the human delegation prepared. 12 diplomats and experts had arrived yesterday, ostensibly for a special presentation on Earth's cultural heritage. In reality, they were here to witness humanity's departure. Karen Mills, Earth's chief trade negotiator, reviewed her notes one last time. "Do you think they'll try to stop us physically?" she asked Sam Brooks, her assistant. Sam glanced nervously at the security officers who stood nearby. All of them wore standard diplomatic security uniforms but carried hidden devices. "They might try. That's why we have our security team and the Defender standing by. In orbit around the Council planet, invisible to all sensors, the USS Defender maintained its position. Captain Michelle Foster sat in the command chair, monitoring communications. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her first officer, Jack Nelson. "Teleport coordinates locked for all human personnel on the station." Michelle nodded. "Maintain alert status. If all goes according to plan, we won't need to intervene. But be ready for anything." Back on the station, the council chamber began to fill with representatives from the 83 member species. The vast circular room hummed with conversations in hundreds of languages, all translated by personal devices. The Varixian delegation entered, their crystalline bodies gleaming under the chamber lights. High Elder Zrix floated to their section, confident in the proposal he would soon present. When Alan entered with the unusually large human delegation, a few representatives took notice. The Jaxari ambassador, a tall feline humanoid named Rhea, watched them with particular interest. The Jaxari had always been more sympathetic to humans than most species, though they rarely spoke up in council matters. The council leader Kelsor called the session to order, his 4 blue arms making the traditional gestures. "This session will begin with announcements, followed by the Varixian proposal regarding human expansion." Alan pressed the button requesting emergency speaking privileges. This was unusual enough that Kelsor paused. "The council recognizes Ambassador Gordon of Earth," Kelsor said, curiosity in his voice. Alan walked to the central platform, followed by several members of his delegation. This was not standard protocol, and murmurs spread through the chamber. "Honored council leader, esteemed representatives," Alan began, his voice clear and firm. "I come before you today not with a proposal, but with an announcement of the utmost importance." The chamber grew quiet. The Varixians shifted uneasily. "After careful consideration and evaluation of our 12 years of membership, Earth and all human colonies hereby withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The chamber erupted in shouts and exclamations. Kelsor banged his ceremonial staff for order. "Ambassador Gordon, this is highly irregular. There are procedures for membership withdrawal, committees to be formed, agreements to be revised. With respect, Council Leader," Alan continued calmly, "our decision is final and not open to debate. For too long, Humanity has faced systematic obstruction and discrimination within this body. He activated a display showing some of the evidence they had gathered. These communications prove that certain council members have deliberately sabotaged human diplomatic and trade efforts. They have redirected potential partners away from Earth and spread misinformation about our intentions. High Elder Zrix shot forward. This is outrageous. The human is making false accusations. The evidence speaks for itself, Alan replied. Humanity joined this council in good faith. We shared our medical advances, our art, our resources. In return, we were treated as children to be controlled rather than equals to be respected. A new voice spoke up. Ambassador Rhea of the Jaxari. I would like to see this evidence more closely. If what the humans say is true, this council has violated its own founding principles. Several other representatives voiced similar concerns, but they were drowned out as Zrix called for security. The humans cannot be allowed to leave. They possess too much valuable technology. Detain them at once. Council security forces moved toward the human delegation. At the same moment, Kelsor tried to restore order. This is not how we resolve disputes in this chamber. Alan touched a small device on his wrist. Captain Foster now. On the Defender, Michelle gave the order. Activate teleport system. Bring them all home. Before the council security could reach them, the entire human delegation began to shimmer with golden light. The advanced teleportation technology, far beyond what the council believed humans possessed, activated. This is not goodbye, Alan said as his form began to fade, but it is the end of an era. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. The Varixians rushed forward, but it was too late. In a flash of light, every human on the station vanished. In orbit, the USS Defender decloaked for just a moment, long enough for the Council sensors to register its presence and its impressive size, before activating its advanced drive system and disappearing from their detection. On the Council station, chaos reigned. Representatives shouted questions and demands. The Varixians accused other species of helping the humans. The Jaxari and several smaller races examined the evidence Alan had left behind. Council leader Kelsor stood in the center of the chamber, looking at the spot where Alan had stood moments before. For the first time in centuries, something had happened in the council that had not been carefully managed and controlled. The humans had walked away, and nothing would be the same again. The next 4 weeks saw the greatest coordinated movement of people and resources in human history. On 27 worlds across council space, human colonies packed up and departed with speed and efficiency that stunned watching aliens. On the OE colony world of New Eden, Governor Frank Miller oversaw the evacuation of 15,000 settlers. What seemed like ordinary cargo ships landed and transformed, revealing hidden compartments and advanced transport capabilities. Schedule shows us at 80% completion, reported his assistant Diane Clark, checking her tablet. The farming. Equipment is loaded. Medical facility is packed. We're ahead of timeline. Frank nodded, watching families board the transport vessels. Any problems with the local Zentari? The Zentari were the native species of this world, who had reluctantly shared the planet with human colonists under council arrangements. They're mostly confused, Diane said. Their leaders keep asking why we're leaving so suddenly. A few seem almost sad to see us go. 12 years building relationships, Frank said with a sigh. All because the council couldn't accept us as equals. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on every human settlement. On the mining colony of Ceres Prime, chief engineer Greg Foster supervised the disassembly of excavation equipment that the council had always believed was simple and primitive. Now, as the outer casings were removed, the true advanced nature of the machinery was revealed. Careful with those quantum stabilizers, Greg called to his team. Those parts alone are worth more than the council thinks our entire operation is worth. In the medical research station orbiting the planet Joral, Dr. Stacy Woods worked tirelessly to ensure alien patients under human care were properly stabilized before transfer. I can't just abandon them, she told her colleague Dr. Eric Hall when he urged her to hurry. Some of these patients came to us because council medicine couldn't help them. I know, Eric replied more gently. But President Mitchell's orders were clear. We have 3 more days, then we need to be gone. Stacy nodded, returning to a young Pelleran child suffering from a rare genetic condition. We'll make sure the Pelleran doctors have everything they need to continue your treatment, she told the child, who looked up at her with large, trusting eyes. Meanwhile, on the council station, the political situation deteriorated rapidly. Ambassador Rhea of the Jaxari had called an emergency session to discuss the evidence the humans had left behind. These communications clearly show that the Vorixians deliberately sabotaged human trade negotiations with the Duraxian Merchant Guild, Rhea said, her tail swishing angrily. They claimed it was for security reasons, but their private messages reveal they feared human competition. High Elder Zrix's crystals flashed with angry colors. These alleged documents prove nothing. They could easily be human fabrications. They carry Vorixian verification codes, replied the Pelleran representative. Our experts confirm they are authentic. As the arguments continued, news arrived that 3 more human colonies had completely evacuated overnight. Markets across council space began to panic as human goods disappeared from trade centers. On the small agricultural world of Terra Nova, the situation was becoming tense. Local council authorities had attempted to prevent humans from leaving, claiming the farmland was too valuable to abandon. Captain Steve Johnson of the USS Horizon received the distress call and immediately diverted his ship to assist. The Horizon had been a science vessel as far as the council knew. Now its hidden weapons systems came online as it entered orbit around Terra Nova. Open a channel to the council administrator, Steve ordered. On the view screen, a reptilian Draxian appeared looking irritated. Captain Johnson, your people are violating planetary evacuation protocols. The council has not approved. The council's approval is no longer required, Steve interrupted firmly. Earth has withdrawn from the council, and these colonists are leaving. You will stand down your security forces and allow them safe passage. And, if I refuse? The Draxian asked with a sneer. Steve's expression remained calm. Then I will demonstrate why it's a bad idea to threaten humans. After a tense standoff, the Draxian administrator backed down. The colonists were allowed to leave without further interference. Back on Earth, President Mitchell received regular updates in a command center set up specifically to monitor the withdrawal. General Peterson stood beside him, reviewing the latest reports. New Eden is clear. Ceres Prime at 95%. Terra Nova had a situation, but Captain Johnson resolved it without violence. The president nodded. And our economy? Dr. Lisa Wright stepped forward with economic advisor Maria Lopez. The transition is proceeding as planned. Yes, we've lost access to certain council markets, but our internal supply chains are adapting. The new trade agreements with the independent Duraxian merchants are already proving beneficial. What about the technology reveal? The president asked. Mixed results, General Peterson replied. Some council species are alarmed at discovering how advanced we really are. Others seem more impressed than frightened. The Jaxari in particular have sent several unofficial messages expressing respect for our capabilities. Lisa added, We're also seeing an interesting development. Several smaller council species who relied heavily on human medical technology have made desperate appeals for Earth to reconsider, or at least to maintain medical relationships. The president considered this. Case-by-case basis, we won't abandon patients in treatment, but we're not going back to the old arrangement. As they spoke, a priority message came in from the USS Defender. Captain Michelle Foster's face appeared on the main screen. Mr. President, we've detected unusual movement near our new border. Several council ships are approaching, but not in attack formation. They're flying Jaxari and Pelleran colors. The president looked to General Peterson, who nodded. Let them approach, but maintain alert status. Let's hear what they have to say. Across council space, the effects of humanity's exodus grew more apparent each day. Stations that had relied on human engineers found systems beginning to fail. Hospitals, lacking human medical experts, struggled to treat certain conditions. Markets without human goods saw prices soar for remaining products. In a private chamber on the council station, Elder Zrix met with representatives from 7 other major species. Their discussion was heated. The humans cannot be allowed to simply walk away, insisted the Mulgarian delegate. They've integrated too deeply into our economy. What do you suggest? Asked another. Military action? After what we've seen of their hidden capabilities, that would be unwise. Zrix's crystals pulsed with angry light. We must find leverage, something they need that only the Council can provide. But as the discussion continued, an uncomfortable truth began to emerge. The humans had been planning this for years. They had created redundant systems, stockpiled resources, and prepared thoroughly. The leverage the Council thought it had over humanity had been an illusion. As the Council elite plotted, human ships continued to depart Council space, heading for a region beyond official borders that humans had quietly named Liberty Zone. Earth was walking away and taking its innovations, resources, and potential with it. The galactic order was changing, and no one was sure what would replace it. 6 months had passed since humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The effects had spread throughout Council space like ripples in a pond, growing larger and more disruptive with time. On the Council station, an emergency session was in progress. Only 65 species were represented now. 18 former members had followed humanity's example and left the Council in the past months. Council leader Kelsor looked tired as he called the meeting to order. The once perfect blue of his skin had faded to a dull gray, showing his stress. The Economic Committee will present their report, he announced. A small green alien stepped forward. Trade networks in sectors 12 through 29 have collapsed entirely. Medical supplies are critically low on 43 worlds. Technical systems on 17 stations are failing without human maintenance expertise. The chamber, once a place of order and control, erupted in angry shouts and accusations. The Vorixians must answer for this disaster, called out a representative from a small trading world. Their lies about humans have ruined us all. High Elder Zrix no longer commanded the respect he once had. His crystal form seemed dimmer, less impressive. We acted to protect the Council from human aggression and unpredictability. And now we see the result. Ambassador Rhea of the Jaxarii said, standing tall. The humans were never the threat. The real danger was our own arrogance. Back on Earth, President Mitchell and his advisors reviewed the reports from their intelligence network that still operated secretly within Council space. The fragmentation continues, reported Lisa Wright. The Council has lost nearly a quarter of its membership. Trade networks that took centuries to build have fallen apart in months. And our own status? The President asked. General Peterson smiled slightly. The Liberty Zone is secure and thriving. All human colonies are fully established in our new territory. Our independent trade networks with the Jaxarii, Pelorans, and other friendly species are exceeding projections. There's more, added Maria Lopez, bringing up economic data on the main screen. Without Council restrictions on our technology development, our production efficiency has increased by 37%. The new quantum communication network is complete, and it's faster and more secure than the Council system ever was. The President nodded, pleased but still cautious. And what about the Vorixians? Are they still a threat? They have bigger problems, General Peterson said. Their leadership is facing internal rebellion. When their populations learned the truth about who really caused this crisis, many demanded accountability. A communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. Mr. President, we're receiving a transmission from the border of the Liberty Zone. A delegation of Council ships is requesting permission to enter our space for diplomatic talks. The President raised an eyebrow. Who's leading the delegation? Ambassador Rhea of the Jaxarii, sir. President Mitchell looked to his advisors. Lisa nodded. We should hear what they have to say. 3 days later, a meeting took place on a neutral station at the edge of human space. The human delegation was led by Dr. Lisa Wright and Ambassador Alan Gordon. Across the table sat Ambassador Rhea and representatives from 12 other species, all former Council members or those considering leaving. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Rhea began, her feline features solemn. The Council is not what it once was. Many of us have come to recognize that the treatment of humanity was not just unfair, it was destructive to all our interests. Alan kept his expression neutral. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador?" "We are not asking you to rejoin the Council," Rhea clarified quickly. "That organization may not survive in its current form. What we seek is a new beginning, equal partnerships between our species and humanity." A Pellaran representative leaned forward. "Your medical technology alone has saved millions of our people. Since your withdrawal, our hospitals have struggled. We are willing to offer fair trade terms, nothing like the exploitative arrangements the Council enforced." Lisa and Alan exchanged glances. This was what they had hoped for. Not victory through domination, but recognition of humanity's rightful place as equals. "Earth is open to establishing new relationships," Lisa said carefully, "on a species-by-species basis, with terms that respect our autonomy and recognize our contributions." The discussions continued for hours, laying groundwork for new agreements that would reshape galactic politics. Meanwhile, in a research facility deep in human space, scientist Carol Davis stood before a complex apparatus. Her team of researchers watched eagerly as she activated the device. "Dimensional phase stable," reported her assistant Rick Taylor. "Quantum signatures aligning." Carol nodded, focused intently on the readings. "Initiate final sequence." The machine hummed, and a small sphere of swirling energy formed in its center. It pulsed with colors no human had seen before. "It's working," Carol whispered. "A stable dimensional aperture. This breakthrough, impossible under Council restrictions, would allow humans to access and study alternate dimensions. It was just one of hundreds of innovations flourishing in the freedom of the Liberty Zone." Back at the border station as the diplomatic meeting concluded, Alan took a moment to stand at a viewing window. He could see ships from a dozen species in the docking area, former Council members now seeking friendship with humans on equal terms. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Lisa asked, joining him at the window. Alan shook his head. "When we started this, I just wanted the Council to stop holding us back. I never imagined they'd fall apart without us." "They didn't understand what humans are," Lisa said. "We don't thrive under control. We need freedom to reach our potential." A message came through on Alan's communicator. It was from Earth, the news about Carol's dimensional physics breakthrough. As he read it, Alan smiled. "Remember when the Virixians said humans advanced too quickly? They had no idea what we could do when we weren't being held back." Beyond the station, stars stretched into infinity. Humanity had walked away from the Galactic Council's constraints and found not isolation, but a new beginning. Other species were following their example, seeking partnerships based on respect rather than control. The old order was ending. What would replace it would be built on new principles, with humanity helping to lead the way not through domination, but through innovation and determination. The Council had feared human potential and tried to contain it. Instead, they had become the architects of their own decline. The future belonged to those who understood a simple truth: never try to hold back a species that had spent its entire history overcoming obstacles and reaching for the stars. Humanity had walked away, and in doing so they had changed the galaxy forever.